It seems like so many of the stories of great figures from the Old West kind of coalesced in the mysterious town of Deadwood, South Dakota. Hi, I'm Chuck Minear, and you're watching Are We There Yet? It's a beautiful drive climbing out of the semi-arid ranch land of Wyoming into the mountainous historical tapestry of the Black Hills of South Dakota. The settlement of Deadwood began illegally in the 1870s on land which had been granted to the Lakota people in the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie. The treaty had guaranteed ownership of the Black Hills to the Lakota people, who considered this area to be sacred. The settlers' squatting led to numerous land disputes, several of which reached the United States Supreme Court. Everything changed after Colonel George Armstrong Custer led an expedition into the Black Hills and announced the discovery of gold in 1874 on French Creek near present-day Custer, South Dakota. This announcement was a catalyst for the Black Hills gold rush, and miners and entrepreneurs swept into the area. They created the new and lawless town of Deadwood, which quickly reached a population of approximately 5,000. But by 1877, an estimated 12 to 25,000 crowded the narrow gulch streets. In 1876, General George Crook pursued the Sioux Indians from the Battle of the Little Bighorn on an expedition that ended in Deadwood in early September, known as the Horse Meat March. The same month, businessman Tom Miller opened the Bella Union Saloon. On April 7, 1877, Al Swearingen, who controlled Deadwood's opium trade, also opened a saloon, and his was called Gem Variety Theater. Interesting fact, Deadwood was one of the first towns to have electricity in the country in 1883 after buying equipment from Thomas Edison in New Jersey. Deadwood attracted such Old West figures as Seth Bullock, Wyatt Earp, Calamity Jane, and Wild Bill Hickok. One of the more interesting places to explore this history is the Mount Moriah Cemetery. In 1876, Hickok was shot and killed while playing poker at Nuttall and Mann Saloon No. 10 by Jack McCall, an unsuccessful gambler. The hand of cards which he supposedly held at the time of his death has become known as the dead man's hand. 2 pairs, black aces, and 8s. Calamity Jane was an interesting character in the Old West. She was a famous lady sharpshooter who dressed in men's clothing a lot of the times. One story about her is that at Jane's request, a benefit was held in one of the theaters to raise money for her daughter's education at St. Martin's Academy in Sturgis, South Dakota. This was a nearby Catholic boarding school. The benefit raised a large sum. Well, Jane, who had a drinking issue, got drunk and spent a considerable portion of the money that same night and left with the child the next day. Now, Jane claims she was married to Wild Bill Hickok, but no records exist to confirm this. 4 of the men who later planned Jane's funeral stated that Hickok had, quote, absolutely no use, unquote, for Jane while he was alive. So they decided to play a posthumous joke on him by burying her by his side. But another account states, in compliance with Jane's dying requests, the Society of Black Hills Pioneers took charge of her funeral and burial at Mount Moriah Cemetery beside Wild Bill. Now, not just old friends showed up to the funeral, but the morbidly curious and many who wouldn't even have had anything to do with Calamity Jane when she was alive showed up. They, in fact, overflowed the First Methodist Church for the funeral services on August 4th and followed the hearse up the steep, winding road to Deadwood's Boot Hill. About an hour's drive south from Deadwood is the majestic Mount Rushmore. Sculptor Gutzon Borglum created the sculpture's design and oversaw the project's execution from 1927 to 1941 with the help of his son Lincoln Borglum. The sculpture features the 60-foot tall heads of 4 United States presidents recommended by Borglum: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. If you've ever wondered why those 4 were chosen, they were chosen to represent the nation's birth, growth, development, and preservation. The entire sculpture was never completed, but what was finished is breathtaking. Between Spearfish and Sturgis, South Dakota is the Elkhorn RV Resort. Karen, Wesley, and I recommend this place highly. It's on a portion of the old Frawley Ranch and has good-sized sites along with full hookups. They were doing upgrades while we were there, so we had a good portion of the park to ourselves. Thanks for watching. Are we there yet? We would appreciate it if you'd help us build our channel by subscribing and liking this video. It really helps the algorithm, and that helps other people hear about the show. Here's a link to another of our adventures we hope you'll enjoy. Join us next week when the Cold War comes alive as we venture into the Badlands of South Dakota.
This is where the adventure begins.